possible that they can go,
Chris!
40.6 like Chris Rodriguez. Chris, you are an Ironman.
So in this video, I want to recap Ironman Arizona and Ironman 70.3 La Quinta and kind of go over how I felt and whether or not I accomplished what I set out for myself and what's next for 2025. So if you've been following my journey for quite some time now, you know that my first race that I ever did in the Ironman space was Ironman Arizona, November 20th, 2022. That was the year where I decided to enter the endurance space and really give myself 12 months to learn how to swim, learn how to bike, learn how to run. And I thought that was my opportunity to start documenting the journey, the daily grind of what it takes to go from zero to an Ironman in 12 months. Now that race definitely changed my life for the better. It was an extremely humbling experience.
Half mile, what's going through your mind, brother?
Nothing.
Let's go.
Like mentally, like, good.
Yeah, just the body.
Chris Rodriguez, you are an Ironman.
And from that point on, got me addicted to the sport. Fast forward to 2023, we did another Ironman, this time in California, over in Sacramento.
The arch right there, guys.
All right. Let's go, babe. Woo! Yes! Woo!
No Santa Ana winds here. Just a little bit of drizzle. This is Chris Rodriguez. Your beard still looks good, Chris.
And we improved from the first Ironman of a 14-hour and 5-minute day to an 11-hour and 48-minute day. Now definitely two different courses here, but still an improvement overall. Now from year one to year two, the biggest difference here was really just learning about my body, the zones that I needed to be at, the heart rate zones, the nutrition that I needed, because year one when I did the Ironman, I definitely did not know anything about nutrition, what my body needed, what sodium it needed, how many carbs I needed, and essentially that race turned into straight survival. Whereas fast forward to 23, we learned a lot about nutrition, sodium, carbs, and the goal for that race was not necessarily a huge PR, but was to go into the race and finish the race feeling amazing. And we definitely accomplished that goal with a big PR on top of that. In my opinion, the biggest win was just no cramping, and really felt like I didn't have to talk to any demons throughout that race like I did in Ironman Arizona. Like, ooh, like those were some dark moments on that first Ironman. I didn't have to experience any of that in Ironman California. Now fast forward to current time in 2024. By doing those two Ironmans, I really wanted to set new goals and new boundaries for myself in 2024. Now that I have had that humble experience of year one and getting through a full distance Ironman, knowing that I can complete one, to year two, really learning about my body, the nutrition that I needed, and just what I needed to get through a race like that and feel good at the end of it. Where to now year three, I felt like was a moment where it's now time to push myself physically. What are new boundaries that I can hit in 2024 to really reshape my perspective on what is possible for myself in this sport? So in 2024, I wanted to go back to Arizona. I set a goal out for myself to finish that race with a 10-hour goal in mind. Now I'm not talking 10 hours flat, but anything with a 10 in it, whether that be 10:58, 10:20, 10:15, 10:05, anything with a 10, in my opinion, I feel like is a respectable time in the Ironman space, especially being only my third year into the sport, coming from zero background. So that was the goal I set out for myself. It was gonna be a hell of a year to even get to the point where I can believe that I can do a 10-hour day. Because when I set that goal out for myself, I'll be completely honest with you, I didn't believe it at all in that moment. There was no evidence in my head that would actually allow me to believe that I can finish an Ironman in a 10-hour span. You know, from year one being 14 hours and 5 minutes to an Ironman California, yeah, we're heading in the right direction, 11 hours and 48 minutes, but to cut off another hour and a half, 2 hours at that time seemed a little crazy. I'll be completely honest with you. But I set the goal anyways, and it's just time to work and see where we end up. You know, I will say, I will preface that I do go into these races with a huge goal in mind, but I definitely don't let that end goal define me. I'm very aware that the success is actually in the process and not the end result. So I knew that going into it, if I missed the goal by a few minutes or whatever, that I wouldn't let that end goal define me, because I'm very aware that success is in the progress, man. Success is in the consistency of day in and day out, putting in the work to get where you need to go. Now, in order to get me to believe that I can actually finish an Ironman in 10 hours, I needed to reach beyond my expertise and think about hiring a coach. And the way this is all unfolded is actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's pretty crazy. You know, I think God has his funny ways of making life come full circle. Basically, before I got into the space, I watched a lot of YouTube, and I watched Nick Bear prepare for his first Ironman in Florida. And he reached out to a coach to help him prep, and that was Natasha over at NVDM. Now, I watched what the power of hiring a coach can really have, and I watched Nick pretty much crush that Ironman and crush his goal. So I saw that a few years ago, but still at that time never really had entered the space yet. But it's funny because in 2022 is when I started documenting my journey daily on Instagram, TikTok, a little bit of YouTube, and really showing the process of going from 0 to an Ironman. At some point in time in 2023, me and Natasha actually crossed paths. And heading into 2024, thinking about, you know, this being the year where I need to hire a coach, I could not think of anyone more perfect than hiring Coach Natasha to take charge and really help me believe that I could actually hit this 10-hour goal. Now, I'm just gonna say this up front right now. If you're thinking about doing an Ironman or setting crazy goals for your upcoming year and haven't hired a coach yet, I can't recommend Natasha or anyone on her team enough, because when you hire a coach, your accountability to get the workouts done and keep progressing over time is heightened so much, because number one, you don't want to let your coach down. And if you're not doing the workouts, you're essentially just wasting money down the drain. And that's not what anybody wants. And that's aside from all the knowledge that I've picked up in prep this year and what I've learned and how to push my body and all of that. So it's just like, in terms of, you know, being self-taught or hiring a coach, I definitely would sway on the side of hire a coach. It's really gonna help you get to where you wanna go quicker. So if you wanna go on this long journey where you're going up, you're going down, you're going right, you're going left, to then eventually hit your goal, by all means go for it. But if you're trying to go from point A to point B, then hire somebody who has more knowledge than you and someone that can teach you and push you to hit those goals and do it in a streamlined process. It's on the side of hiring a coach. 2024 was definitely the hardest year I've ever pushed myself in training.
So, a lot of work to do. So fucking hard. First block is done.
It was hard for me to watch.
So fast forward through summertime into fall, you know, we're counting down the days from being 100 plus days out to now being 15 days out, 14 days out. We headed over to Arizona a little under 2 weeks before. I wanted to get situated, get accumulated in Arizona rather than being there a few days before the race. So I was there a couple weeks early and finished my training out there. But coming into Arizona, we did a little road trip from California to Arizona. Felt really good, just feeling like I've done all the work that I can and feeling very confident in my nutrition, feeling confident in my body, felt healthy, feeling really just blessed. Entering into race week, I will say this is one thing that I was a little nervous about, but in previous preps, just from the, you know, training peaks basic preps that I did on years prior, the week of race week in past years was very mellow and chill and off days and things like that. But heading into this race week with being coached by Natasha, the volume was still pretty high, and I was like, oh, like oh shit, is that right? Like the day before the race, we have 3 workouts, and I was a little nervous about it, but the way she explained it, that was what made sense. And honestly, it did make sense, because I would say throughout prep, on the days that I didn't do anything was when my body started to feel kind of weird. So I think that feeling the routine, even the day up to before the race, I think it was important to keep my body moving, because that's what I've been doing all year. We are 2 days out from Ironman Arizona. Right now we're about to check in with Coach Natasha and kind of go over the race plan, and it's our final call before the race. So I want to show you guys what's going on, what the plan is, and we're almost here. Let's go.
The nerves kicking in yet?
No.
No?
No, I don't know what's going on. I feel good. I feel really good.
Awesome. Yeah, maybe it's just a confidence in knowing like you're the most prepared you've ever been. So probably just more, maybe just excited to see how it comes together for you.
Definitely. Yeah, I definitely feel as good as I've ever felt. So I'm really excited to, showcase that.
But the reality is you shouldn't be checking your clock and adjusting the way you're doing anything based on what you're seeing. It's a feeling that you have.
Okay.
So you would say like, okay, it's going to be like a 7, maybe starting out because of all the people, it's going to feel like a high 7. But once I get into it, it's really like form overrides effort, because it's so long, and it's really about taking intentional, long and strong strokes where every stroke counts, but it's within yourself.
Yeah.
It's really what you're feeling.
Okay. I know we kind of briefly talked about this for the bike, but like ideal power for the bike.
You could be that you come out of the swim, it's cold, you're trying to get your stuff on, you get on your bike, and your heart rate's actually probably going to be in the 160s, maybe even higher. You need to just kind of ease into the first 15 minutes just to look to bring that heart rate down. And we wanted to settle down as long as it starts hitting the 160s pretty soon, like you're moving in the right direction, because that's kind of what you can hold honestly all day, well trained in it. So if it drops down into the 155 to 160 range, and legs so breathing should feel so super controlled at that point, then best case scenario, going up the climb, you're going to find yourself in that 210 to 220 range. That's kind of like the top end of your range.
Okay.
And then if you're anywhere in the 200 to 210 range, that's perfect. That's like 75% of FTP.
Okay.
But yeah, I think what you felt, and you aligned probably anywhere from 190 to 210. I think best case scenario, we're looking at 200 to 220.
Okay.
So yeah, with granted, 190, you're still within range.
Yeah, I think the odd thing on the bike was that the heart rate was always low no matter what.
Yeah, and that may change on race day.
Yeah.
Know that your heart rate can go higher. So if your heart rate is higher and you're hitting your numbers and your legs feel good, go
That's
with
fine.
it.
Okay.
What is common is your legs fatigue before your heart. And so if you, and then also do this for me, don't force the power if it means that you have to adjust the way you're pedaling. Like we've had some athletes where they'll go out and they're like, I've got to hit 200 to 220. And in that they're throwing their hip, their back is moving, their hips are moving in order to hit the power and speed.
Yeah.
You got to keep it as good as possible, because you have to think about what is the cost on my body, my posture, my form, especially as it then pertains to the run.
My plan for nutrition is 100 grams an hour. That's kind of what I've felt good at. As far as the run goes, would you stick to the 100 grams? Would you lower it?
No, I definitely lower it. So anywhere between 60 to 90, based on how you're feeling,
90
is kind of the target.
Pacing for the marathon?
I always let heart rate kind of dictate a little bit. So we know the range for you is high 150s, low 160s. And know that if you can keep your heart rate up, that is what you want. So it's not a case of trying to lower your heart rate if you're there. It's about keeping it up, and that really comes down to making sure you're fueling enough, and then making sure you're able to essentially run fast enough. And so, because what the opposite happens, your heart rate starts to drop in an Ironman, in the marathon. It's going to. So the longer you can keep it up, the better.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Everyone doesn't believe me, and then they do the race, and they're like, "Oh, you're right."
Well, I would feel better if I can stay in the 150s to 160s range.
Yeah. No. You'll be racing to your potential.
Okay, gotcha. So like, if I'm in like the 130s and 140s, basically like my body's falling apart.
Yeah, you're running out of fuel. You're depleted,
Yeah.
or you're going so slow that your heart rate is low, right?
Gotcha.
And so you see that in races like the Ironman. People might come out, they're running strong, then they got behind a fuel, they're starting to be depleted, they're slowing down, and guess what? The heart rate just goes down with it. So if you can keep up the pacing as long as you can, keep up the fueling as long as you can, you're going to keep that heart rate steady throughout.
Yeah.
And that's the mark of a good race. Well paced, well fueled.
Gotcha.
Now, as far as pacing, don't feel you need to slow down if you come out of the gates running 7:30s and you feel good, because your body's trained for that based on the track sessions and speed workouts you've done and your long runs.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that, if you are feeling good at around that pace, you just hold it as long as you can. So when I'm in a race, I will just look at my lap mile, and it just shows you the average pace of that mile, and I try to just fight for that mile to keep the heart rate where it is, to keep the pacing where it is for as long as I can, and then know that there's going to be a drop off of pace. It's just inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
You never negative split an Ironman marathon, and your goal is to fight the drop off.
Gotcha.
And so it is. You might find yourself hitting 740s, 750s, and honestly, if you've started at 730, for example, and you're coming in the last 6 miles holding 830s, you crushed it.
Okay.
That's an amazing day.
Yeah.
Okay. Granted, you were like, if I can hit 330, 325, 330, so that's 7:50, 8-minute pace. So if you come out of the gates kind of there, it might take a while for your legs to get underneath you and then things shift. That could happen as well. Like you might come out at 8:30s, and then all of a sudden you're clicking now down at 7:45, 7:30s, and then it's a case of holding on at that point as long as you can.
Okay. Cool.
Do you know that people line up like crazy early in the shoot? So if you're not lining up early in that 1 to 110 range, which is where you should be, it's going to be hard to work your way through there.
Okay.
So you have to take into consideration making sure you have your gels, you have your water with you. Don't stand in that shoot without any fuel or any hydration. And then also, if you have family members, like wear your socks, wear your shoes until the very last minute to keep your feet warm. So many people stand there in the cold, feet freezing, and also barefoot on concrete, which is hard on your feet.
Yeah. Okay. I've never done that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for everything.
My pleasure. We'll chat soon.
All right. Sounds good. See ya.
Bye.
So on Friday, we headed over to pick up our race bib and our tracker and all that, and just get everything checked in. And on that day, that was my scheduled off day, was on Friday. So we made that day kind of getting everything checked in. Saturday comes, we have a run, bike, and swim. I got caught up in some things in the early morning and wasn't able to get into the lake to do our practice swim, but I was trying not to stress out too much about it. I was confident about how that lake was gonna feel because I had already been in it one time and raced in it. I knew it was gonna be cold. I knew it was gonna be a cold morning. I was pretty confident that I was gonna be fine. So from that point, we did a little shakeout run. I met up with some friends, some people that follow me on social media. We did a little shakeout run. It was about 3.5 miles. We did that, and then I went back, biked a little bit for an hour, and then it was time to drop off my bike. I think it's more, I'm more gonna need water more than fuel. Yeah. Dude, I don't know what the sauce is, but it's pretty good.
So I'll put this in your post 24-hour fast, bro. Like,
So I'll put this in your bike bag then.
food just hits different when
What
you're
we'll do is-
fasted, dude.
What we'll do is we'll put it just
Right now?
Yeah.
Do you want me to make him?
Alex, you don't want to make them, right?
Race morning, we set an alarm for 4 a.m. And what I like to do in Arizona is I personally like to keep all my bags with me until race morning. You know, my water bottle nutrition, all that stuff is fresh going in the morning instead of having to drop it off Saturday, letting it roast in the sun and all that. I would prefer just to wake up a little bit earlier, drop everything off that morning. Plus I'm going extra early to fill up my bike tires and make sure everything is all set and ready to go with tire pressure, my nutrition, set my bike and all that, making sure basically everything is running sound. We wake up at 4 a.m., head directly over to Tempe Town Lake. We're there at 4:55. I believe transition opened at 5 a.m. and we were there at 5 a.m. sharp. We're staying in an Airbnb literally 30 seconds away, so it was a 30-second drive and back. So what I did is I just woke up, I was still in my sweats, still in my sweatshirt and all that, and took my bike pump, took my bag, dropped the bags off right at 5 a.m., went to my bike, filled up my tire pressure, checked to see if my gears were working all good and sound, see if my bike and computer was ready to go, everything was set and ready to go. And from that point, we went back to our Airbnb, and that is when I started putting on my wetsuit and really was starting to get in the zone to race. We woke everyone up, got everyone ready. This race is wetsuit mandatory.
Oh, it is? It's that cold? Is it because it's cold?
Yeah.
pretty cold out there.
This is your first time putting that wetsuit on or like wearing it in the water?
Everything, yeah.
First time swimming.
First time swimming?
I talked to a dude that said he learned how to swim like 3 months ago. It's like, I don't know if that's smart, dude.
Recovered.
You? I can't.
I know what you're.
And we headed back down to the lake, and that was when it was starting to feel a little bit real. I think the walk over, it's like, okay, we're about to do an Ironman.
Boys are walking. Yeah. But I mean, it was like a natural alarm clock, so it's alright.
Shoot. So you'll see that glasses table. Look for the flag. Right where as you enter, this swim starts.
2.4 miles is what we've got for this swim start here in
Austin.
Town Lake. Water temperature at 60.1 degrees.
Hell yeah.
Overall, just feeling really excited for the day. A lot of hard work had gone into this and just feeling ready. One piece of advice that Coach Natasha gave me, she wanted me to start early. And in previous years, you know, if you may or may not know, when you are starting an Ironman in the swim, you're sectioned off by your estimated swim finish time. So whatever you feel like you can finish your swim in, kind of like a marathon, whether you think you can finish your swim in an hour, hour 10 to hour 20, hour 30, hour 40, hour 40, hour 50, you just segment yourself off so that it avoids a bunch of trampling and, you know, people getting angry at slower, faster swimmers and things like that. So she wanted me to start early, and I was like, okay. Like, I think that I had a goal in mind to finish the swim in about an hour and 10 minutes. And she wanted me up there with the first wave, and I was a little nervous about that, but I was you know, trusting her.
Athletes starting to enter that swim start. We are ready to go. We are feeling the iron paradox, and Jordan Snyder down on the ramp, gonna pull that cannon for us to get us a and there we go. You have a whole community of champions ready to push you to the finish line today. That's a lot to be grateful for.
I think it was a great strategy because if you find yourself getting caught up with slower swimmers, there's just nothing that you can do about it. So I would say that I started within the first 30 or 40 people, and I would definitely say that I was not the slowest swimmer by any means. I was not the fastest swimmer by any means, but what it did was I found this nice pocket of me really not having to pass too many people, me not getting passed too much, but really just me just in my own little zone. I was in a pocket of maybe like 5 to 10 people at a time, and we were all kind of just swimming the same pace. It was just a beautiful placement of where I could have been on the start of that swim. Another thing that I must mention that I was a little bit nervous about and not happy about was how we had to start the Ironman swim. In 2022, the swim was at a different location of the lake. It was further back, and it actually had a loading dock ramp where you would just walk down and you would start to swim there. This year, they decided to move this swim towards the middle of the lake and basically just gave us a floating dock to jump off of and start to swim like that. So it was an instant cold shock to your body, and I was pretty nervous about it. But leading up to Ironman Arizona, I did as many cold plunges as I could to prepare myself for that mental shock so that a little bit of cold water wouldn't affect me as much as it did some of the others who had to go through that. I was a little not stoked about that, but I wasn't gonna let it screw up my day. So back to starting Ironman Arizona, I jump in. My buddy Justin told me to, when you jump in, just let your body go and don't try to rush up and start swimming. Just let your body go, come back up, and then start your swim, because you don't want to cause any more shock to your body or like an instant cramp or anything like that. Just go, just jump in, let your body come up, and then go. And that's what we did.
Athletes from all over the world coming together right here at Tempe Town Lake. California is one of our biggest states represented here. I love it. Breast cancer awareness right there. Big bands up. Remembering those. Everybody has a story here.
I see.
And I quickly got in a really good zone. So I also decided to use some new goggles called the Form goggles. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but basically they are swim goggles that project metrics for you. So when you're swimming in the pool, it'll show you like your stroke rate, your heart rate, your distance, things like that, how far you need to swim. But when you're in open water, it gives you your heart rate and it gives you coordinates, like 360-degree coordinates. And this was crazy because this was the first time I've used them in open water. But I quickly realized that all I needed to do was get a good sight and just get my coordinates on what I was looking at downstream. And for me, I believe it was like 270 degrees when I was first going out. And I just knew that I really didn't have to sight anymore. So I just knew every time I was swimming, as long as I was on a 270-degree plane, that I was heading in the right direction. And me personally, I'm not great at sighting. I think that I come up too much and I think it really slows me down. So being able to have this little hack right here where you're able to see your coordinates, I was able to get in a rhythm a lot quicker than previous years. So I was pretty stoked about that. find a good rhythm, and I get to the halfway point. I believe I'm at 32 minutes at the turnaround, and I'm just feeling really good. I make my turn and I'm heading back, and I just know that I'm right on pace to hit about an hour and 6 to an hour and 10 minutes, and just feeling really good. And then maybe like 5 minutes into the turnaround, I get kind of jumbled up with a group. Some lady is in the middle of her stroke, and so am I, and she punches me right in my watch and shuts my watch time off, so I could feel the workout like end. And I'm just like, shit. And I'm thinking like, do I try to fix it or do I just keep going? I'm like, whatever, just keep going. And that was a little unfortunate because it kind of shook me a little bit, and I was kind of frustrated in that moment, but I was like, just keep swimming, just finish this. And you know, we're heading down, feeling good, feeling strong. And I believe it was maybe 500 to 1,000 yards left as when my left hamstring just seized up on me, and it's happened in the past. I don't know why. I think it's just the cold water, cold morning, just feeling restricted in the suit. Something always happens in the full distance Ironman, except for last year, but it happened to me in 2022 at Arizona, where the hamstring just seized up, and it happened again. And I was right on pace for like hour 6 to hour 10. The hamstring seized up. I had to stop swimming. I had to like roll on my back, and I had to like just squeeze it out and just like try to straighten it out. And I was like, I gotta keep going. I see more people. Like when you roll over on your back, you just see the thousands of people behind you, and you're like, you can't just stay in place forever because you're gonna get trampled. So I squeezed it out as quick as I could, and then I was like, I gotta keep moving. So I was still cramped up and just started swimming with my arms and just shut off my legs completely. So I was just swimming with my arms, and I'll just keep swimming, and your leg will release at some point. And maybe about a few minutes in of just swimming with my arms, it started to let go. And I was like, okay, we're back, and just keep moving. And I kept swimming, kept going, and it kind of like cramped again on me. And I was like, shit. So then I shut off my legs again, used my arms again. And at this point, I'm seeing the hour and 10 go by, and I'm like, damn, like that goal is gone. It's fine. You're just gonna have to make it up on the bike and on the run. Just finish the swim, not cramped up. Whatever you gotta do, if you gotta slow down, just finish the swim feeling good, get out of the water feeling good, and you'll make it up. It's a few minutes, it's not like a few hours, and you'll be fine. So as I'm coming into the last turn, my leg starts to let up a little bit. I start to reuse it in my swim a little bit, starting to feel better. I can still feel like the residual knot, but the cramp is gone. I get out of the water, I go up the ramp. In my first few steps, I like have like some major vertigo, and I'm like, whoa, like super dizzy. And it took me like 10, 20 seconds to like make that dizziness go away. And then also my right glute just seizes up like hard. But compared to like the hamstring cramp, a right glute cramp is like nothing compared to the pain. So I was fine with that. So I was able to run in transition with my glute completely seized up.
Oh my God, thank God. Let's go, Chris! Go, Chris!
But it was kind of unfortunate because I went through transition, got my swim gear off, put my bike gear on, and I'm getting ready to start the bike, and my glute is just completely seized up. And instead of just going out hard on the bike, I'm having to now strategize on how to get rid of this cramp in my glute. So
Such a sick song for such a sick dude. Oh, go Chris!
I immediately start taking nutrition as soon as I get on the bike, and I know that this bike ride is 3 loops. And I'm basically like, all right, if this is 3 loops, this first loop right here is just about getting rid of this cramp. So don't push it, just be in a high gear, spin my legs, get in nutrition, and get this glute to open up and start firing again. So that was the goal when I got onto the bike, and wasn't until mile 12 or mile 15 that I started to feel like it let go. But once it did, I was ready to roll. So that whole first lap was just getting in nutrition and getting the glute to feel good. Now the goal for the bike was to hold around 180 to 200 watts for the entire duration. This day specifically was gonna be a fast day, so I quickly found out that I was able to hold the speed that I wanted to hold with a lot less power than normal. The wind was minimal for the first few hours. So I quickly made the decision to, instead of take advantage of that and double down and still push the power and go faster than I wanted to, I opted to be more conservative, put out less power, and still hit this mile-an-hour average that I wanted to hit, which was 21 miles an hour, with a lot less power. That gave me the opportunity for my glute to loosen up and just feel good. So because this was a 3-lap course, you know, I wanted to take it easy on the first lap, push it on the second lap, and push it harder if I felt good on the third lap. And that's exactly what happened. The start of the second lap, just feeling so good, staying on top of my nutrition, about 100 grams per hour, and that's all coming from raw fuel. I really didn't take anything besides ketone IQ and raw fuel. That's literally all I had. And I had the raw fuel, the powder, in my water bottle. And I had, for the ketones, I had the normal 10 gram ketone shots, but I did it in the pouches. And then I had caffeine shots as well, which is 100 milligrams of caffeine, 5 grams of ketones. On the bike ride, it was a big focus on making sure that I'm hitting my carbs to really set up for a good marathon. Going all the way up Beeline on lap 2, just feeling really strong, still holding 21 miles an hour, 22 miles an hour, just feeling really, really good. Coming down at mile 60 is our special needs bags. I hop off the bike, switch out my bottles. So I threw the 3 bottles I had used, threw those out and replaced them with the new ones, which had 100 grams in each. I had a couple ketones in there. I loaded those up in my bike or in my tri-suit, and I was off within another minute.
Yeah, that's C-Rod right there. Let's go, C-Rod! Let's go, baby! Go! Let's go, baby! Go! Lock in, baby! Lock in!
I would say like at about mile 85 to 90 is when I started to feel the wind pick up. And especially going up Beeline Highway can be pretty challenging. So at this point, I'm starting to feel a little bit of fatigue in the legs, but nothing crazy. But I was nervous about this headwind that was coming. And my goal was just to get through Beeline as fast as possible. So we had a group about 3 to 4 dudes who were all kind of around the same pace, and we were all kind of helping each other get up that hill. And we were able to hold a strong average speed, even with the headwinds, all the way to the top of the Beeline Highway. And as soon as we made it up to the top of Beeline Highway, I knew that I was in the clear because that headwind was just on the way up, and now it's gonna have some tailwind on the way down. So get to mile 100 off of Beeline Highway now and heading back in, and just really just feeling good and just, you know, have that adrenaline pumping. I know that I'm just smashed this bike ride. Come in and finish the bike at 5 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah, Chris!
Slow down, get straight ahead!
Yeah, Chris!
9-5 299.
My transition was pretty damn quick. I didn't realize it until after the race, but my transition was, I think, like less than 4 minutes. When I got out of transition and started the marathon, I saw my friends and family.
Yeah, Chris!
And it was like a deja vu moment, because I remembered 2 years prior when I saw them. I remember them thinking that I looked really good.
Hey, C-Rod! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby! You got this shit! Yeah!
And I remember thinking that, holy shit, how am I gonna run a marathon right now? Because I'm cramping everywhere. It was just a bit of a deja vu moment, because it was like the same experience, but this time I actually felt really good.
Yeah, Chris! Let's do it!
and I was like, I'm about to throw down the best marathon I've ever thrown down. This is where I had a completely new experience and really made me fall in love with the sport at a different level that I have not experienced in previous Ironmans. My girlfriend immediately tells me that you're in 17th place in your age group. And I was like, oh shit, really? And then I had my buddy Justin say, you're in 17th, but the next 5 guys, they're all barely in front of you. And I was like, oh shit.
Still good?
Yeah. How far am I behind?
You're like a few minutes behind, but just run your rhythm. Okay. If you run strong, yeah.
Running at 6:20.
You moved up a couple spots.
You did that
transition, yeah.
Yeah.
So
quick, bro. Dude, I cramped so hard on this one.
Did you? That's what we thought.
So last 1,000 yards. Left in. Yeah, that's what we thought.
Don't go out too hard.
Yeah.
Run your rhythm. I mean, off the bike, it's easy to run hard. Run chill. Take nutrition. I'll see you soon.
Lock in, bro. Seems good, bro.
And that, for the first time, like, since my collegiate baseball career, really like lit up that I'm competing right now instead of just me versus me. Like, I'm actually competing. And I was like, okay. And that kind of lit this fire in me. And the way the Arizona marathon course works is it's also 3 loops, but it's just very spectator friendly. You're on one side of the lake and then you cross over, you go on the other side of the lake, you come back, and you do that 3 times. So I was able to see my family about 9 or 10 times. So every time I saw them,
yeah, Chris,
they would update me of where the next dude was. And I went from 17th place to 15th place.
Shit, yeah. How do you guys feel?
He's socializing, bro.
How do you guys feel after the run?
You're not socializing on the run right now.
He's feeling good.
Yeah.
He's looking very healthy. Yeah, he's looking very strong. He made a friend out on the course.
He did.
So
yeah, it's looking good.
we're looking good.
I think he'll break top 10, dude. I think he'll make it happen. So.
You're in 14th. You're 14th out of like 170 something. You're literally. Huh?
Start picking people up.
No, literally, you just got 4 more. You got 4 more in your top 10. Oh my god. It's so freaking great. Your freaking run pace is amazing. Your bike pace was insane. You hit everything at like 20 or 24, like averaging. Like, just freaking blowing our minds all day.
So we got 2 more left.
That's it? Oh my god, babe. You're almost done. My whole family's here. Everybody's here.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yes! Woo! Oh god, I can't believe how close you are. You were in 17th, you climbed to 14th.
Let's go first. Let's go, baby. Everybody's right here.
They're all running. Just keep it up. Keep it up. Give you another update when you leave your route. Keep going strong, get nutrition in.
Sounds good. Overall. Good. Going back.
Just keep it steady. They're all running steady. They're running slower than you right now. Keep it going, bro.
I love you, babe. You got this. I love you.
to 13th place, to 12th place, on around the 3rd lap, they were saying the top 10 is running at 10-minute miles and they're not too far ahead of you. You can catch them. From 17th place to 11th place, 10th place, I was just in this zone of just hunting people down. And my buddy was saying, like, I think it was like from 14th place to 13th place, he was saying the next guy ahead of you, he's wearing this color tri-suit, he's wearing this hat, and he's about 30 seconds ahead of you. And in my head, I was just like, roger that. And I'd go look for him, and I'd find him, and I would just like hunt him down. And it just like, it sparked this competition in me that I really haven't felt in quite some time, probably since college baseball. And it was a cool experience to be able to be that competitive in such a challenging sport. But it was a cool experience, and it made the marathon go a lot faster and kept my mind off of like what we're actually doing and how we're actually suffering through this marathon. Instead was just straight competition. Where's the next guy? Let me hunt him down and get after him and go for the next guy, and just let's see if we can crack the top 10. And by the third lap, I had worked myself all the way up to, I believe it was 11th place. And the marathon didn't really get too hard for me up until about mile 20. And it's pretty normal for you to start hurting at mile 20. But from the first 20 miles, I was able to hold between a 7:30 to like an 8:15 pace. Up until mile 20 is when I saw my first 9-minute mile. And I knew that my legs were starting to fatigue. My mind was still sharp, but my legs weren't responding as much as I wanted them to. And I knew that was just, I mean, you've done a full fucking Ironman at this point. Your legs are gonna start to slow down at some point. Once that point hits, it's just about fighting and giving everything that you have possibly left in your legs to finish as strong as you can. So I saw my first 9-minute mile and just kept pushing through, got it back down to the 8s, and was able to finish pretty strong. But I think I was up until mile 25, I was in 11th place, maybe 10th. I don't think I cracked the top 10, but I was in 10th or 11th. And then mile 25 started to get passed by a few people, and I was like trying to figure out, like, are they in the 25 to 29 age group? I can't tell, like they look close to my age. But long story short, got passed by a couple dudes at the end. But was able to finish strong as I could, and finish the marathon in 3 hours and 40 minutes, which is a marathon PR for me. And to do it on an Ironman and have that be my marathon PR, it's pretty crazy. So pretty stoked with that, and was able to finish the Ironman in 10 hours and 29 minutes.
We have athletes from all over the United States, all over the world, with one goal right here, that anything is possible, that they can go
Chris!
40.6, like Chris Rodriguez. Chris, you are an Ironman.
Yeah! Good job, Chris.
You did so well.
Damn, everybody's
Everybody's here.
The way Austin and I were following your age group was crazy.
Same. I was watching him go like 11, 12, 11, 12.
Sick.
Your swim was 116. Dude, you know what's crazy is in the span of like the last 5 minutes of you finishing, dude, your run top 8 out of your age group. So
Top 8 in his run?
yeah,
I got passed at the end.
That's insane.
Dude, so if you don't cramp, you're placing
Oh, yeah.
6 or 7.
Yeah, 6 or
That
7.
took 10 minutes.
You get a little bit of authority and then you
I ran up on that dude and I was like following.
You get that? Thank you. You got it. Babe, I got the stupid shot.
No, she did though, dude.
Tell him, guys. Tell him. Yeah, they look. Oops, sorry. That was me. I stopped. Be in the camera angle.
She said the next my camera
on the opposite side.
Yeah. I got so close.
Flying right by your head.
I was following. I also like I was just caught you on the bike, and I followed you on the bike too all the way.
There's something like electrical wires right there too.
I was being so I also like right before you started. Hold on, I like
Runner.
oh shit.
That was the goal I set out for myself. Finish the Ironman in a 10-hour range, and overall had a great day. Now, the end result, 12th place finish in my age group, which for one, even looking to see where I finished in my age group was a first, because I really hadn't competed in past years with other than myself. This was the first year I've actually competed, finished in 12th, finished, I believe it was 81st or 83rd overall, one of those, and actually qualified for the World Championships in France, which was crazy. I got a text from my coach right after the race, and she's like, are you going to the award ceremony tomorrow and to see if you qualified for France? And I was like, no. I don't think I'm gonna qualify. And she was like, there is like 70 spots for France, and you very well could get a qualifying spot. So next morning we woke up, we went to see if we qualified, and I got a spot. I will say that the way Ironman does it, I think they can do it a little bit better, but when you qualify for a World Championship spot, they wanna know if you're gonna do that Ironman World Championship there. I'll just explain it, but basically they make you make a decision on the spot, and if you do say yes, you have to go pay for the race there and then. You take your qualifying ticket and then you go pay for the race. And honestly, it rubbed me a little bit the wrong way, but also too, France, I know about France, and if you know anything about triathlons, like the World Championship race that everyone thinks about in their head is Hawaii. Kona, Hawaii, on the Big Island. That is the race. That's where it all started. A couple years ago, they had to split locations and flip-flop every year between male and female and locations. So 2025, it happens to be France. To me, that's just not really the dream race that I want to do. And also too, when you're committing on the spot like that, like you're not just paying for your ticket to race, you're paying for an expensive trip to France. And for me, that just wasn't really of interest for me at that point. And I really just want to qualify for Kona, Hawaii. That's the goal. So I passed on the World Championships, even though it was a blessing to get that qualifying spot. And I'm super stoked. It just wasn't, France just wasn't a race that I'm interested in at the moment. So I passed on that. I went back home, took 2 days to recover, 3 days maybe, and I told Natasha that I was thinking about racing again in a couple weeks at Indian Wells. I had been thinking about this all year, about possibly adding in an Indian Wells, but I hadn't committed to it quite yet, up until I finished Arizona. And it wasn't until I looked at the data that I really decided that I wanted to do Indian Wells. So what happened in the data that I saw was actually interesting. Throughout training for Arizona, there were some metrics that you would look at to gauge your progress, and some key metrics that you should be hitting throughout training and in your race. So one of which would be heart rate zones and pacing zones with that heart rate. The goal we had in mind for Arizona was to, and what I quickly realized is when I was looking at the data, especially on my bike, theoretically, I should have been pushing more wattage to then get my heart rate up to match where I should be at for where the wattage is at. And it was just a big discrepancy. Like my heart rate was like 110, 100, 120, where my heart rate should have been 150, 160. And that would have pushed my wattage up. If I'm pushing more, my wattage would have been higher. So this quickly made me realize that maybe I should have been pushing harder on the bike instead of playing it conservative. And maybe that would have not made any difference on the marathon. And then I started thinking about the marathon. I was pretty content with the marathon. I did stay in the heart rate zones to pacing ratio throughout most of it, except for like the last 5 miles. So I was pretty happy with the marathon. The swim was fine. I just think that it kind of bugged me that I still cramped. And so it kind of left me with like, just thinking that I could swim better. But it was more so the bike. We put in so much work on the bike. And I was just like, before we head into off season, I want to feel what it's like to push out the power and have the heart rate be up where it should be, given to where my wattage is at. And that's why I talked to Natasha, and I was like, we're in such a great aerobic shape right now to do any race, especially a half Ironman in Indian Wells. Maybe we're not as strong as we should be for a 70.3, but aerobically, like, we're way ready for this race. And even though it's 21 days after Arizona and my body was probably still recovering a little bit, my body felt fresh and I was ready to go, felt healthy. Last minute, I added this race into the schedule, and the reason why I wanted to do it was I wanted to push myself. I wanted to see what my body felt like, pushing myself and keeping the heart rate up. And that was the goal I had in mind for Indian Wells. So December 8th, 2024, 21 days after Ironman Arizona, we do Indian Wells.
Ladies, next up at our men are in the water pass at first buoy.
We head into that weekend. We got there maybe Thursday. The race was Sunday. And at this point, I'm not stressing about anything. I know that I'm still in great shape. I may have lost a little bit of fitness, recovering and not working out. And then leading up to the race was just basically just shakeouts. But felt really good, felt really strong, felt as prepared as I could be. So, you know, the stress was pretty low throughout the whole weekend. This was just kind of a last minute add-on and just give it what I can. So we get there Thursday, quickly find out it's a really warm weekend. We know going into Indian Wells, it's usually cold. We know that the water's always freezing, so I was a little nervous about that. So at our Airbnb, it had a pool, made sure that we didn't heat the pool, and every night I was getting into it, and it was kind of like my mini cold plunge. And in my head, I was like, there's no way that this pool water is gonna be colder than the water I'll be in on Sunday. So mentally I was preparing again. That's all I was hearing is people panic in the water, people get pulled out. Even like people like Lionel Sanders have had panic attacks in the cold water, and kind of freaks me out a little bit to think that like even pros can have panic attacks in the water because it's so cold. So I did everything I could to mentally prepare for that, physically prepare for that cold water shock. And I also knew that it was actually a warmer weekend. It was actually in the 80s leading up to the race. And in my head, I was like, it's not gonna be that cold. But overall, it was a stress-free weekend. Leading up to the race though, logistically speaking, this was an interesting race because the bike ride is no loops. It's point A to point B. So you're ending up in different locations. So where we start in the swim and where we start the bike is the same, but where you finish the bike and finish and start the run, start and finish the run, is a completely different location. So logistically speaking, that kind of threw me off a bit, and they had different rules here and there. For example, number one, in Indian Wells, you have to dunk your wetsuit and decontaminate it and leave your wetsuit for a day.
Okay, and go!
And then pick it up on race day. That was kind of weird. But also too, they had mandatory bag drop-offs, one of which is your bike and your bike bag all done in one place. So we had to do that. Saturday morning. My schedule slot was 9 a.m. So I took my bike at 9 a.m., took my bike bag, decontaminated my wetsuit all at 9 a.m. And then in my head, I was thinking, did all that at 9 a.m. And then what was interesting too is the way this Indian Wells is set up is, which I didn't know, is there's a mandatory bus ride that you have to take to the race start. So even though our Airbnb was literally down the street, they were not gonna let you in unless you took the bus. And that kind of freaked me out a little bit because I didn't want to slide around the rules and like try to sneak my way in there and not get access to race. I wasn't about to do that. So we actually had to, even though we were staying 30 seconds away from the race start, we had to drive 20 minutes to go take a bus all the way back to where our Airbnb was and start the race there, which is almost a nightmare, but we just went with the rules and we made it happen. And then also in my head too, I was thinking normally what I do with the bags, I drop them off morning of. So in my head, I was like, I'm just gonna do that with my run bag. I'm have to drive all the way down there anyways, and might as well do that before I hop on the bus. And it wasn't until Saturday afternoon around like, I think it was like 3:30 p.m. I was like, I'm just gonna look at the athlete guide and just double check and make sure that I don't have to drop it off on Saturday, just like I did that morning with the bike and the bike bag. And I saw a mandatory run back drop off Saturday by 5 p.m. and I was like, holy shit. So I had to pack my things up, drive over to T2, drop my run bag off just in the nick of time. I got there like at 4:30. Drop my bike back off. Overall, the experience was just different. It's just different than what I'm used to. Arizona was very easy to own one location, whereas this is just like spread out and it was just different. It was a different experience, but we got it done. Anyways, we woke up Sunday. The race started at 7:10. There was a lot of pros. So the pro men went at 6:50. I believe the pro women went at 6:55 or 7, and then we all went at like 7:10 or something like that. Within that range.
Go through. And then you're gonna head out and keep all those buoys on your left. I want to give a shout out to Aroka. They're the official swim course sponsor of Ironman. Also the official wetsuit of Ironman. Aroka. Flying faster is what we always want to do, and Roka helps us do that. Athletes also remember, all day long, finisher picks will be taking your...
So for this race specifically, I knew it was going to be a different beast. I knew there was going to be athletes like who specialize in 70.3, so it kind of freaked me out on the swim a little bit because I knew there was going to be dudes who were going to be swimming 25 minutes, 22 minutes, and I was like, that's crazy. I'm just hoping to get out at like, you know, low 30s, anything like that, what I would be happy with. So with that being said, the advice that Natasha gave me for Arizona about starting earlier kind of freaked me out because if I was thinking there's going to be so many good swimmers up there, I'm just going to be getting trampled the whole time. So I actually pushed myself back and went into, I think it was the 30 to 35 or 35 to 40 minute group, which was a bit further back than Arizona. And that ended up being a mistake, a huge mistake, because we started this race and immediately we're straight into the sun. You can't see anything. But I started so late that it was just chaos everywhere. It was absolute chaos. For the whole swim, I just couldn't get into a rhythm because I was getting hit the entire time. I was getting punched. I was having to swim over people. It was just complete madness. Let alone the water was 57 degrees that morning. It was still cold, but it wasn't like, that was my least of my concerns. I got into the water, start swimming, immediately get punched in the goggles. Water fills up in my goggle, have to roll over, not panic, undo the goggle, get the water out, get back on, keep going, getting punched the whole time. And honestly, immediately I was just thinking about, damn, I should have listened to what like Natasha said about Arizona and got into the front, because I would have been just fine. A 33 to 35 minute swim turned into 38 minutes because I was just getting trampled. It was very frustrating, but I was like, all right, it's fine. Same kind of deal as Arizona. It's a little slower than I wanted to, but we're gonna make it up on the bike. My body feels good. I got out of the water at 38 minutes. I felt really good.
Let's go, Chris. Let's go, babe.
Get into T1, and transition was kind of just everywhere, whereas Arizona was like a dedicated tent. This was just kind of open area, just find a spot and get changed, and that kind of threw me off a little bit, but I believe I had like a 6-minute transition. Definitely should be faster than that, but 6 minutes is fine, whatever. Get our bike, hop on the bike.
Let's get this, man. Let's go. I love you. he goes. Fast as fuck, boy.
And I'm ready. No cramps, no nothing. I'm just ready. This is why I'm here. This is why I'm doing this race. This is literally why I signed up for the race, is to feel good on the bike. And so I'm pumped, getting on the bike, no cramps, no nothing. Take my nutrition immediately, get on the bike, and I'm just ready to pump. And I remember for the first 20 to 25 miles, I was putting out 23 to 24 miles an hour average, 200-ish watts for the first half. Just feeling strong, just absolutely flying. Overall, this course was really flat. Wind was minimal, a little bumpy at times, but overall just a beautiful course. And we get to like mile 35 or 40 or so, and we enter into this racetrack, which I didn't even know until like the day before, that we were entering like this car racetrack. And we enter in, and we're literally in this racetrack, and it's so surreal. It's like, I don't know, it's like straight out of a movie or something. But you can see everyone flying by and in this racetrack, and we're going in. It just felt so cool. It was such a cool experience. And we get through that and just feel good, taking my nutrition, staying on top of everything. And because we're doing a half distance Ironman, there's no midpoint bags. It's just your run bag and your bike bag, no midpoint bags like the full distance Ironman. So whatever nutrition you have on the bike is what you get. You don't get a special needs bag at the halfway point to throw out. But anyways, mile 40, mile 45, feel really good.
There he is, there he is. Let's go, Chris!
I would say at one point, mile 45 to 50, I was like, whoa, okay, like I've pushed really hard. My quads are pretty fatigued. I'm gonna back off for a little bit and then finish strong. At this point also, you started to feel a little bit of wind pickup. But really from like mile 50 to mile 56, I'm in this group of, legit riders, and you can all tell we're kind of in the same headspace, where we're all trying to finish strong. We're all pushing really hard, and we're all just kind of like with each other. And I feel like that was a cool moment, because not only was I with a few people that I had met throughout the weekend that followed my journey, followed me on social media, we were all kind of in a pack together, pushing each other, and really coming into the end on a strong note and just feeling really good. So finished the bike in 2 hours, and I believe it was 2 hours and 25 minutes, 2 hours and 26 minutes, sub 2:30, which was pretty sick. I had never hit that on training. That was definitely the best bike ride of my life. Felt really strong, and pushed about 180-ish plus watts, which was cool. It was definitely the hardest I've pushed on the bike. I felt really good, felt really strong. Got to transition, put my run gear on. I could feel the fatigue in my quads. I'm like, I pushed my legs hard, and I'm in transition. I'm like, just take your time. Don't rush anything. I can feel the fatigue in my legs, and just take your time. I think it was about a 4-minute transition, and I was like, just go at your pace, and you only have 13 miles. It's a half distance. You're fine. You can leg out 13 miles regardless of how you feel. Get into the half marathon, and within the first mile, I'm with someone I finished the bike with, cool dude. We're chatting a little bit, and we're talking about our goals that we have in mind, and we have the same goal, is to finish sub 5. He goes ahead and makes the pass early, and I let him go because I'm starting to feel it in my legs, and I'm feeling like old times from 2022 about the marathon in Ironman Arizona. My quads just feel like they're about to seize up, and I'm like, this is gonna be horrible. So I have my nutrition, my hand water with the raw fuel in it. I have some ketones in me in my pockets, and I have this vial of raw salts. I need to get this vial real quick. Give me a second. So in my hand water, I have this pocket, and I have a raw salt. This is a product that have never taken, but for some reason, felt like I needed to add it either into my pocket or into the pocket of my water as just precautionary. Well, fast forward to the race, my legs feel like they're gonna seize up. My nutrition's not really doing anything. I took a ketones, not really doing anything. And this is like literally the only thing I have left. And I'm feeling like any moment my legs are just going to seize up and cramp, and I'm gonna have to finish this half marathon just fully cramped up.
You got this.
And I'm like, this is gonna be horrible. So I remember I had this in my pocket. I pull it out, I open it, and I just start just taking salt, just dry, just dumping salt down. Do it a couple times while I'm moving, and I slowly start to feel the quads go from like this and just start letting go and opening up. And I'm like, holy shit, it's working. So from that point on, there's 6 servings in here. I would balance my raw fuel with water, my ketones, and also now holding on to this the whole time. So anytime I felt like my legs were starting to do this, I open this up, take a serving, or take a little bit of a serving, and just use this as my gauge to keep myself from cramping. And that's what I did. Felt really good after that point. And I was able just to push hard as I could. I was holding like 730s to 740s.
Here we go, Chris.
Let's go, Chris.
Watch out for concrete.
For as long as I could on the first lap. I was able to see friends and family, my girlfriend, who always is helping me film the footage. Like everything that you've seen is all because of my girlfriend, documenting for me. Can't thank her enough for all this, but she's definitely like the biggest supporter. So every time I see her out there, I hear her yelling my name and just hyping me up.
Is it Sam, yeah?
So yeah, lap 1 comes and goes. I feel really good, feel really strong after the point of thinking I'm gonna cramp, and I just keep going and feel good, holding a strong pace. And in my head, I'm thinking lap 2, I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna send it hard and get to lap 2, and I actually start to feel some fatigue. And I pushed really hard on the bike, so the fatigue set in a bit, and it turned from let's push really, really hard to let's conserve a bit longer and then try to finish strong. And that's what I did. From like mile 9 to mile 11 was pretty tough. And I had asked my girlfriend at one point, am I on track for sub 5?
You got this. You're doing so good. Your pace looks amazing.
Next time I see you, tell me what my estimated finish is.
Okay.
You scroll to the bottom.
I can tell you right now.
And she's like, yeah, you're at 4:58 right now, but like you're close. And I was like, okay. In my head, what I was doing at every aid station, I would run up to the aid station, walk for 10 seconds, and take water, and then keep going. And at that point, I was like, I'm 4:58 right now. I can't stop anymore. So from like mile 10 all the way to the finish, I was like, no more stopping. You just got to send it. So those last 3 miles were absolutely grueling. And the last mile specifically, I was like grunting.
William Haar and Federico Nardi. Also, everybody going under 5 hours. Good job, guys.
Let's go, Chris! Let's go, Zero! Woo! Let's go, baby!
My way to the finish line to try to finish as fast as I can because I really wanted that sub 5. And we finished at 4 hours, 58 minutes, and
Just walking up there to see Brian. Come in.
Be 5 hours.
That's what I said.
Harder? Faster?
Wait, could you grab this person?
Yeah.
I almost blew up. Yeah?
What was the hardest part?
The bike, he's overheated.
Really?
That was sick. That was a huge goal. That was kind of like a last minute, but also a huge goal of mine to be able to say I went sub 5 without a training prep was pretty cool. And basically my goal was just to see what I was capable of on the bike, and I pushed harder and it was fun. It was a really fun experience overall, and I'm happy with the result. And I actually found out, even though I finished 25th in my age group, that I did have a qualifying spot to 70.3 World Championships next year in Spain, but I didn't show up because I was thinking there's no way that I would qualify. And I had someone reach out to me and said that by default, because people didn't want to go or people didn't show up to the ceremony, that by default I would have had the opportunity to have that World Championship spot. But because I wasn't there, I didn't claim that ticket. So that is a goal of mine, is to qualify legitimately for the World Championships in Spain, and not by default. So that kind of wraps up 2024, and we're here now the last couple days of the year, and we've planned out a lot of 2025 goals. And I think 2024 was a year of really reshaping on what I think is possible for me, and really the first year of like actual competing in the sport, which is really fun. I'm super grateful for that experience, and I think 2025 I want to keep my foot on the gas pedal in the sport and really see what I can do with a full year, coming off a really good year and another full year of prep with Natasha, of course, and see where we can take this in 2025. So what I have lined up in 2025 is 2 marathons, 2 half Ironmans, 1 full Ironman, and maybe another half Ironman to end the year, and maybe some stuff in between. I don't know, we'll see. But we're going to start off 2025 with doing the Surf City Huntington Beach Marathon in February, and we're going to see if we can crack 3 hours. I know I don't have a lot of time to prep, and I've been recovering from the Ironmans I've just done, but we're ramping up volume right now and speed workouts and things like that. We're just going to see where we end up in February. It would be a cool goal to break 3 hours in the Huntington Beach Marathon, but any PR would be awesome. So my PR is Ironman Arizona, 3 hours and 40 minutes. So anything faster than that I would be happy with, but I would love to try and crack 3 hours in February. In March, we're going to do the LA Marathon, and we're going to do that just for vibes. There's going to be a lot of community out there, a lot of people to get to know and build relationships with and things like that. So that race is purely just for vibes, anywhere 340, 350, 330, just mainly staying in zone 2 and using it as a shakeout run. And then April is our first real race. We're going to do Ironman Oceanside 70.3 with the goal in mind of going 4 hours and 30 minutes and qualifying for the World Championships in Spain. Now, this is a very competitive race. This is the first pro race of the year, so it is a stacked lineup. And Natasha was saying, even though 4 hours and 30 minutes is a crazy goal and could be attainable for you, that still might not be enough to qualify for the World Championships, just because of how competitive that race is. So the goal is to go 4:30 and qualify. If I don't qualify for that race, if I do qualify for that race, amazing. If I don't qualify for that race, I will probably add in another race the next month and we'll do Ironman 70.3 Hawaii, which I did in 2023. And with the same goal in mind, 4:30 or qualifying for the World Championships in Spain. And by that point, I'm very confident that one of those two races will get me to that point. And then after those races are completed, we put our full focus on the full distance. So we're going to be training for Kona, but earn that World Championship spot for the full distance. So we're going to put our full focus on training for Ironman California with the goal of going 9 hours. Now, I know this is crazy to think of, but Ironman California is a very fast course, and I've done it before, and I think I can do 9 hours. I might even be able to break 9 hours. I'm very ambitious, and I think I can do it with a year's worth of hard work, but with the goal in mind of getting that Kona spot. And that race will be taking place in October. And to finish the year, when I do get that Ironman 70.3 World Championship spot in Spain, that race will be in November. And I'll cap the year off in November in Marbella, Spain, one of the most beautiful places in the world, and we'll do the World Championship there. So that's kind of been 2024. Everything has been a blessing. I've been healthy. I pushed my body hard. I have a great team. I have a great family. I've got a great girlfriend. Everything is exactly where I want it to be. I have great partners. I'm thankful for everybody and for everybody who follows the journey too. And 2025, I just want to take it to the next level, and I want to document more, share more, and just really inspire other people to get uncomfortable. Do things and set goals for yourself that sound crazy, and put in the daily work and get yourself to actually believe that you can hit those goals and that you will hit those goals. That's what I'm doing in this chapter of life right now, and we're just gonna see how far we can take it. And yeah, I'm super excited about 2025 and where it takes us. And I know it's a crazy busy year. This is definitely gonna be a year of activity. This is the most active race schedule I've ever set out for myself. So it is a little bit daunting, but I can't be more excited to go out and hit these goals and put in the work to get there. So that's the 2024 recap, and that's the 2025 sneak peek of what's to come. I want to thank you guys for watching. Appreciate the love, appreciate the support, and we're just getting started. See you guys on the next one.